Good afternoon and welcome to this learning video. So I'm going to show you a handful of things in Microsoft Excel that you may or may not be aware of. If you are aware of how to do them, I'm going to bet that you're not too comfortable with how to do it using Copilot inside of Excel. Ooh, kind of like a twofer. Here we go. I'll start off with this simple rank function option. I want to rank these scores first through last, or in this case, first through fifth. So I will type in equal rank, open paren. The first argument is going to be the cell that I want to test, in this case, F6, comma, now the entire range. Now the entire range must be referenced as absolute, which means dollar signs in front of the column letter and the row number. If not, there will be a mistake and it won't work. So just make sure. So here we go. Close the paren, press enter. The score 95 is ranked second. When I double click on my autofill, you can see it worked. If I change any one of the scores, let's say I change this score from 77 to 99, and when I press enter, all the rankings will automatically update, as you can see right here. Pretty cool. Now, let me delete that, and let's do it in Copilot instead. So this is what I typed in my prompt. Create the rank function for all the scores in cell range F6 through F10. Put the results in G6 through G10. I click my send button, and in just a matter of no time, there's my answer. Pretty cool. All right, let's move on to something else. The introduction to the if function says the condition is if the person's grade is 70 or higher, put the word pass in column G. Otherwise, put the word fail. So this is the most basic of the if function that you'll see. I'll type it in. Equal if, open paren. The condition, or as Excel calls it, the logical test, is this cell address right here, because that's where I am on row 5, greater than, equal, 70, then comma, double quote mark, pass, double quote, comma, double quote, the word fail, double quote, close the paren, press enter, and there we go. And then I'll use my autofill, and you'll see it works. It's a beautiful thing. Now let's try that with Copilot. Here's my prompt right here. Insert a simple if function that says pass or fail from the grades in range F5 through F9. Passing is anything 70 or higher, results in G5 through G9. Now, I was a little verbose in some of those sentences. I could have probably abbreviated it, but I wanted to just play it safe. And here we go. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? And if I change one of the scores, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to change the 55 to a 73, and it's going to change from fail to pass. There we go. So I just used the Copilot function with the if function. Now, similarly, I'm going to use the ifs function, because now I'm not just going to say pass or fail. I want to have specific grades that will come up. So let's see how that's going to work. So here I use the ifs function rather than nesting ifs inside of each other, which can be quite laborious. So when I press enter to get my answer, there's the A for 95, my autofill, and you can see up here is where my actual function is and my parameters on the different scores. So I know it worked. Beautiful thing. I did that in Copilot. All right, let's move along. I have this table here of cities, countries, and their population. So the introduction is going to be the XLOOKUP function, not the VLOOKUP function. The XLOOKUP function is much more flexible. Number one, it doesn't have to start from the leftmost column. Number two, it doesn't have to read from left to right, although it will. I just wanted to keep this simple to basically introduce the XLOOKUP function so that whenever I type in a particular city name right here, go to the table over here and find the corresponding country and what the population is. And if I type in a city that is not in the list, give a message that says no match. And this is what it looks like. There it is, XLOOKUP. The first argument is the cell right above it, which is what I'm looking up. In this case, the value of Lima. And then look for that in the range B3 through B8. And then the second argument is pull the country name from the range C3 through C8. And if it doesn't find anything, put the entry of no match, as I mentioned earlier. And you can see it brought in Peru with the 9,174,900 population. Now let me change the city name to Cairo. And when I press enter, you know what's going to happen. This is going to say Egypt, and this is going to say 10,230,000. And there it is. It's a beautiful thing. Now let's type in, instead of any one of the city names that are in the list, let's type one that's not in the list, like New York. When I press enter, I'm going to get two no matches right here underneath it. And there they are. It's a beautiful thing. Now, let's try to do that in Copilot. Pretty cool. So here's what I typed in the prompt. Using the XLOOKUP function, sheet, so in this case, I actually told Copilot what sheet in the workbook to use. Because oftentimes you'll want to use Copilot in a workbook that has multiple sheets. They could be similar. So I didn't want to take a chance, so I told Copilot the actual sheet name. And I say, insert an XLOOKUP function in both cell addresses G3 and G4. The result in cell address G3 will be the country, and the result in G4 will be the population. Grab the data from B2 through D8. So here we go. Let's see what happens when I send the request. Look at that. Is that cool or is that cool? Wow. Isn't Copilot absolutely amazing? Let's just change the city from Moscow to Beijing. Spelling is important. And when I press enter, you guess what's going to happen. It's going to say China and 21,516,000. And there we go. Awesome. Now let's introduce conditional formatting. Suppose I have the sales ledger here for all these employees, and I want to highlight only those numbers of the 4 quarters that are at a certain number or higher. So in order to make that work, I first have to highlight the range. Then I go on my home tab, I click on the conditional formatting button. I want to highlight cells rules greater than, and I'm going to type in the number 255,000, and I click OK, and voila, it worked. Now, if I change any one of these numbers that are less than 255,000 to something that is greater than 255,000, you guessed it, you know what's going to happen. It's automatically going to satisfy the condition and become highlighted. So I'll change this one right here to 265,500, which is greater than 255,000. Press enter. Voila. Pretty cool. That's called conditional formatting. Now, I've got other videos that go way deeper into the conditional formatting feature, but that's not the purpose of this video. Now I want to use Copilot to do the exact same thing that I just did. Hold on to your seats. Here it comes. So this is what I typed in as the prompt. Perform conditional formatting for the 4 quarters of sales on the conditional formatting blank sheet, which is this one right here. The condition is highlight in light blue all the sales that are 255,000 and higher. I click on send. And there we go. It worked. Notice the light blue? So that's how Copilot can gather insight of our data via the conditional formatting feature. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you can see the advantages of how Copilot can answer the exact same questions that we wanted to ask without having to know all of the functions in Excel. Beautiful thing. Here's where you can reach out. If you got any questions about Microsoft Office or Copilot, I'm only an email away. Tom@leadingedgebizservices.com. Thank you for watching and have a great day.